My father moved into a rural area in 1980, a few years after I was born, and soon came my sister. They stayed there ever since. We grew up at Center. Dad died in 2012, and Mom died in DC 2018. My sister moved away in 2002 to get married, kids etcher, and doesn't want to be involved in the affairs since I am the eldest son, and she lives 3/4 of the country away. Over the years, the area was developed and is now more of a suburb. Either way, I take possession of the house through the will, affairs of the estate, etc. Basic total control, nothing to worry about. I get a letter in the mail in February that my parents agreed after their death to sell the house through the trust to the HOA and the property would be up for sale. I find no such documentation, and my demand to the lawyer, which is a legit licensed lawyer, is going unanswered to provide the written documentation. I've left a few messages with the admin there, but I am not putting any effort into it if they are not going to respond. I'm not one for sentimental value, and I really am not attached to the house. So if they want it, the price is going to be dictated by me, not them. I live a couple towns away, and I have no interest in moving in my house is bigger, or even thinking about keeping it. 1. My dad was getting senile and might have agreed to something. 2. My mom is a pushover and might have agreed to something. 3. If it isn't in writing, does it mean it is useless? 4. What if they do come after for the sale? Should I just ask for top dollar or fight it, making it a non-HOA house in an ocean of HOA property? Update on. Lawyer for the HOA has been served and received certified mail demanding details. Uspies.com confirms the lawyer received letter on Friday. Gave him 7 days to produce documentation and or evidence or cease and desist any and all communications in the subject. Edit. After receiving my green slip back and leaving multiple voicemails, I finally got a letter in the mail, but it was basically saying it was a verbal agreement. Not gonna fly. Good luck. I am sending a letter today demanding an in-face meeting on the property with the lawyer, HOA members, or I will be asking the Board of Zoning to change it so I can install a wastewater treatment facility. Relevant comments. I scoured the paper my dad left behind. He was detailed in paperwork for the house and paid it off in 1995. After that, all he ever did was pay the town taxes yearly. That was it. If not, I will doze it and turn it into my own private park or something if no one approaches. The house is in terrible disrepair to the point of wanting to put up a lighting rod and attach it to the frame of the house. It never went to probate. With the will and docs my parents had done up, it never got that far. In 2010, I dragged my parents to an attorney and made them go over their existing will, property, etc. Nothing was left to chance. Sold a van, cashed in some old stocks, etc. When my dad died, there was nothing to argue about. Clean paperwork. Oh yeah, checked out the homeowner association attorney, fully legit, have all the contact details, and even looked up the attorney's cases, all low-level non-confrontational issues such as tree lawsuits, easements, etc. Just nothing. So a paper pusher but not getting a response by phone. I'll be sending a letter shortly. There is a lot of back and forth in the comments about what OOP might do to squatters that isn't relevant to the case at hand, but is interesting to read, for the board. Too long. Didn't read? Their lawyer wasn't responding in great detail, and so I sent a notice to the homeowners directly around the property about the possibility of turning my parents' old property into a sewage treatment plant. Miraculously, the homeowner association called the next day. I proposed a meeting and sold it for around what I wanted, which is a lot. So, after receiving a certified letter at the end of April from the HOA's attorney, he basically ignored me about the verbal agreement details. I contacted my corporate attorney, who I've known for nearly 2 decades with, and he's got a CT bar license, so he'll help if I need to. After not hearing from their attorney for over a couple weeks, leaving calls and messages with his admin, I realized that I was not going to get what I wanted, which was literally to talk to the guy and get the HOA's documentation. So one last college try at the end of April, and nothing still. I got shit to do, and all I got now is a slab and some overgrown lawn, which with the coming of spring, and the constant rain is turning into a mud pit. I live 2 towns over, and I don't have time for this. On May 3rd, I sent a notice to the surrounding houses that construction was to begin on a new sewage treatment plant, and to contact the HOA board for more information, knowing it would take us a day or 2. Brought the dozer back on a flat bed and planted it in the driveway where you couldn't miss it. Ate 'em on Tuesday the next week. Got a call from an HOA representative wanting to argue with me in regards to this new plan and so forth about property rights, ownership, etc. Not going to lie, choice words and yelling ensued, ending with, "If your goddamn lawyer would call me back, we wouldn't be having this discussion. Good luck with the smell." Keep in mind, nothing filed with the town, no real desire to create a sewage treatment plant, but if you want to ignore me, good luck. About 45 minutes later, I get a call on my cell from an attorney. And I swear to God I was talking to a hostage instead of a lawyer. I told him I will see him at my parents' address at 3 p.m. and we'll finish this deal one way or another, and bringing a laptop. Wanted to argue about not officially meeting in an office blah blah, and I hung up. That was on May the 7th. I knew full well why I chose to send the letter on the 3rd, that because on Wednesday coming up the HOA board has its monthly meeting, so I wanted it on the agenda. For about an hour, calls would come in from the attorney's admin wanting to change it to his offices, wanting to work this out by mail, etc. Nope, 3 p.m. on site. Called my attorney, he luckily was out of court by 11 and would come down. Had lunch with him and headed back to the property. Grabbed a couple of lawn chairs, a folding table from my house, and my attorney brought a laptop and a printer. If you know my attorney, I've known him for decades, and he is no bullshit. Let's get it done, no mercy kind of guy, right from law school. Went from corporate IT to family law and dabbles in real estate. Good guy to know. 2:55 rolls around and they show up. The lawyer and 2 board members, one who looks like he should move to God's waiting room, and the other a mid-50s kind of guy who's probably an orthodontist. We all make introductions and sit, and I say, this is how this is gonna go, you want this property, and I want to sell. I am tired of the games and the non-responsiveness. In the next 15 minutes, you're going to buy this property pending approval, the HOA board majority, and you can do whatever you want with this place. You'll own it free and clear yourself. The orthodontist speaks and attempts to say, as conveyed to us by past board members, that your father advised us that the property would automatically be transferred to the HOA upon your parents' death. He actually sounded articulate and with some authority. I like him. Me? What docs do you have to support that? Ortho. Nothing, just witnesses. It goes into a discussion on how it was told to them by board members and that their unresponsiveness was because they thought they were in the clear and no reason to work with me because it was all legal, blah blah, and they were going to get the property by some court decree shortly. I look over to my attorney and he looks back. Well, fortunately for you, that's at least 50 true, you'll get this property. But it's not free. Brass tacks, XXXXXX.0. You pay all closing costs and you'll have my signature the minute you have approval. We'll facilitate the docs and the routing wire information. The eyes of the crypt keeper and the ortho went wide, and he said, that's a lot of money. We'll have to bring it to the board to vote, but I am unsure. Good enough for me. We have some preliminary docs and an official letter to present. Looked over at my attorney and was printing the docs away on the table. The lawyer says, well, it'll take up to 30 days, and the bank check will take as long for an entity of this type if this is approved. My attorney says the best thing I heard in a long time, love you, Mark. We have e-file capability, with 3-day turnaround filing to the state. Townsend wire transfers take no more than 15 minutes unless the feds are backed up. There's no title issue, no liens, no environmental or waste removal issues. It's yours to enjoy as you see fit. I'll be available right after the HOA meeting to file the docs on Tuesday to receive the transfer. That's why he gets paid. He hands over the doc standard P&S with the amount just typed in with our cover letter for the board. I grabbed the ortho's business card apparently. He's a school admin, the other guy is a retired electrician, and the attorneys as well. Well, the board meeting went well. I was told by a resident that it was a lot of arguing about not having documentation, wanting to actually challenge my ownership of the estate of property in court, and eventually the amount. Yeah, I asked a lot, but then again they could have countered and didn't. It was not a good meeting, but in the end it was approved. Apparently, another lawyer who was a resident basically told them they had no standing and I could do whatever I want with it, with or without the board's approval. I don't know if the HOA lawyer was there. My lawyer dropped by 10:15 p.m. at a pub 99, and I signed the docs for the final PS, and we had beers as he filed online. He said I would get a copy in a week and would file paper copies with the town, but the deal is done when the money is transferred. Today, 8:15, I got a message that the HOA initiated a wire transfer, and around 8:45 got confirmation of receipt of funds. My parents bought the place in DC 1980 for $28,500. It served us well, and I flipped it for nearly 27 times that. It was a good home, but you have to move on. It'll be built or turned into a park or something. But alas, it's over and done with. Most of it is going to my kids' college and technical school tuition, and the rest to my sister for her kids. Thanks, Dad. Relevant comment. Not so much a comment as a summary. There is some amount of disbelief as to the truth of this story, though it's not enough that I would even tag this as a possible fake. Oop is also a bit of an asshole, which may play incline some to believe. At least want to believe that he's also a liar. Story 2. Am I the asshole for not wanting anything to do with my brother, even after he tried to delete himself? I 27 male haven't spoken or seen my brother Kevin in 5 years. I barely speak to our parents or anyone in the family. When I was 22 and Kevin was 25, I found out that my girlfriend of 3 years was having an affair with Kevin. I broke up with her and moved back into my parents' place, showing my parents the proof of the affair. After a month of ignoring Kevin's attempt to reach out and being cold when he would come around to apologize, my parents told me it was time to forgive him. They even went as far to stage an intervention with my ex Kevin and extended family to give me reasons why I should forgive them, especially Kevin. All this did was hurt me more. I told him what they did was unforgivable, especially when it came to Kevin because he was my brother. I looked up to him. I would have done anything for him. We were really close, and he betrayed me in the worst way. A couple months after that, I got the chance to get far away from them and took it. I went no contact with Kevin and my parents. For the last couple of months, I've been in contact with a cousin, because my grandmother has been having health issues, and it got worse, so I went back to visit her in the hospital. On the way out, I unfortunately ran to Kevin. He wanted to talk, but I pretended I didn't know him, and he started to cry saying he was sorry, and he wanted to have a relationship. I told him he must have me mistaken for someone else and left. My cousin then called me later, saying Kevin has a really bad mental breakdown about what happened. Apparently ever since I cut contact with him, his mental health has declined a lot. Then my parents called me and begged me to see Kevin. That being there for him would give him a peace of mind. They pressured my cousin into giving them my number. I told them I wasn't going to do that. Mom started crying saying she wanted her family back, that she wanted her sons being close again. I told her that Kevin, her and Dad ruined that I didn't care about them anymore. My dad then asked if we all sat down, talked and apologized for all the hurt we caused each other, that things could be the way they were before. I said I didn't want to talk and I have nothing to apologize for. The next day, my dad called and I could tell he was crying. He said Kevin tried swallowing a bunch of pills. Apparently they told Kevin what I said and it pushed him over the edge. My parents found him in time and now he's in the hospital. They think I can make his mental health better if I just have a relationship with him again, but I don't want one. I don't feel it's fair to put his mental health on me. I don't even know how I would even help him when every time I think of him all I feel is rage, hurt, and betrayal. He's my brother, but I just don't want nothing to do with him. So am I the asshole for not wanting anything to do with my brother? Update. First of all, I want to say thank you for everyone's advice and how they experienced similar things and how they dealt with it. I know I didn't reply much, but I read everything, so thank you so much. First things first, a bunch of people were saying I should thank Kevin for saving me from my ex-GF, which is really horrible because he's my brother, not some random dude. No, I don't want Kevin to die. I just don't want a relationship with him. I was going to propose to my ex. My brother knew this. He knew how much I cared about her, so yeah, I'm not thankful towards him at all. I still talk a good bit of my extended family, especially my grandparents. I'm also in therapy too. On to the update. Kevin actually didn't try to commit suicide, but he had a really bad mental breakdown which led my parents to take him to the hospital. My parents decided to tell me he tried to commit suicide to get me to see him because they believed that I could help him. Kevin is okay now, but he'll be closely watched because he is suicidal. I don't know if he's getting the help he actually needs, or if my parents are just keeping him home. How I found this out was from my Uncle Ray. He called me because my mom rang crying to him after their plan didn't work and told him everything, so he called me after he found out. I then called my parents and told them any chance we had at reconnecting was none. Not only did they lie about what happened to Kevin, they used him as a pawn which hurt him more than anything, that they are sick in the head and need help. They tried to explain that they only wanted to get their family back together, that they missed how close Kevin and I used to be. I told them that would never happen, especially because of what they did, that Kevin didn't need me, he needs professional help. My dad then screamed at me, saying it's my job as his brother to help him, that I'm supposed to be there for him no matter what, that Kevin loves me, but made a mistake that he shouldn't be punished for. My mom then started agreeing with Dad, saying it was time for me to come home and be a happy family again. I told them I was done and never to contact me again. They started calling me days on end, but then suddenly stopped. My grandmother is out of the hospital and back home. She's the reason the calls stopped. I didn't tell her anything that's going on because I didn't want to stress her, but she found out through Ray. According to Ray, when he told her what had been happening, she demanded him to take her to my parents' house. Then she ripped them a new one that they started crying, especially Dad since it's his parents. She told them they wouldn't no longer be a part of this family, even though they were barely a part of it anyways. She also went to see Kevin and told him that he needs professional help, and if he wants it, she'll help him get it. She also told him that she would not kick him out of her life completely, but he had to fix a lot of things about himself to really be back into the family. Grandmother is also a little mad at me for not telling her what was happening. I was trying to justify it, but she hit me on the back of my head and told me it didn't matter, which made my grandpa laugh. They told me that they would make sure my parents wouldn't get through to me, and to make sure that Kevin is getting the help he needs to get better. I told them I appreciate them, but to not get so stressed, especially with Grandma coming out of the hospital. But again, a solid hit to the head shut that down. They told me as grandparents they're supposed to help their grandkids, especially the ones that really need it. Grandma went to explain that she knows the hurt Kevin has caused, but he needs help desperately, and I agreed with her. Grandpa then explained that they would help him and make sure my parents are doing right by him. They will also make sure that nobody in the family contacts me that I wouldn't want to be contacted by. My grandmother told me if I hide anything from her again, I wouldn't want to be caught by her, so no more secrets from Grandma. So that's it for now. Kevin should be getting the help he needs, and my parents are getting their asses kicked by Grandma. I'm fine with how the situation ended. I've been staying in contact with my grandparents more, and I've been talking to more family.